Welcome back to another episode of Bubbly Blazers, the podcast where we talk business, life, and all the bubbly moments in between. I'm Shayla, and joined with me is my incredible co-host, Ainsley.
Hello. Today we're going to be talking about something that can completely change your career, business, and even your personal growth. Networking.
Yeah, love it or hate it. Your network is your net worth.
I love that.
Woo! The right connections can open doors, provide opportunities, and help you level up in ways that you never imagined. But let's be real, networking can feel awkward, overwhelming, and sometimes just a little forced.
Yeah, forced social time. Anyways, that's why this episode we're going to break it down. Here's how to grow your network authentic. Oh my goodness, I am struggling here. How to grow your network authentically, where to find the right people to connect with, and how to nurture, oh my gosh, relationships so they lead to opportunities. And maybe we'll throw in some reading tips because I need that. But anyways, let's grab our bubbly and let's get into it.
Yay! Hey, no sweat. I feel like, people like the realness of podcasts, and that's real.
That was me being authentic.
Sometimes you're on it, and sometimes
Sometimes you're
you
not.
just create your own vocabulary, and that's okay too.
Yeah, so sometimes it's Tuesday afternoon, it's rainy, it's springy, it's like I don't know. I just feel different.
We're here.
We're
We're
here.
recording. That's the important
Ah,
part.
love. Oh my goodness.
Okay, well, let's jump into it then. I'm curious to know what's the best networking experience you've had to date? Because you're fairly young in your career
Hmm.
and going through school. Has there been any like standout moments for you with networking in general?
Yeah, still a lot of progress to be made for me. For example, there's one of my campuses like large see, I'm just like not on it. This is crazy. Networking events is this Wednesday,
Mhm.
and everyone's like, "Are you going?" I'm like, "No." So I'm like, I'm going to book club instead. So I still have some work to do, but I would say probably my Enactus work has been like my favorite experience so far because it's allowed me to meet so many other students, like-minded individuals, like so people that I've had a lot of fun with, but that I've been able to do a lot of good work with, get advice from. So yeah, I love that. I love
Definitely.
growing
And
my network.
you were just away too for a competition. Tell us about that because you
Yes.
have some exciting news to share.
Yes. So, yeah, obviously got to see some teams while we were out there. So that was, dipping the toes into the intercampus networking. But
Hmm.
I keep wanting to say marketing. I'm not really sure. I think it's like on my mind today. I'm doing a lot of
Mm.
marketing work, so I'm like,
It's
um,
self-marketing, networking.
it's truly, truly. But yeah, so yeah, it was a great experience. We were in Edmonton for a few days, super like dialed in with the team, practicing a whole bunch. And then we did our pitch and it went amazing. We were super proud of ourselves and we got third in our division, so we were super happy.
Yay.
And yeah, just it's just cool to hear like they had a couple speakers and hear the other teams like the work that they're doing. So it was super fun, super interesting. So yeah,
I love
can't wait
that.
to keep on keeping on with that.
And that's just it, right? Like your networking is all about relationships. And if you think about
Yes.
it in its simplest form of just meeting people, getting to know them, and, maybe one day you can use it as leverage for some kind of professional development or growth. But
Yeah,
it really is just about building relationships and getting to know people. So look at
truly.
you thriving in networking and marketing.
And marketing and reading and everything in between and hydrating. It's
She does it all.
I'm I'm doing amazing. I feel like I have like end of semester burnout right now. I'm like I'm trying to like carry on and I'm like, okay, just have my little sip of water, carry on, everything will be okay.
I feel like that's just so real of this time of year,
Yeah.
like March, where 3 months into the year. Everyone's New Year's resolutions or goals for the start of the year are kind of like getting to that point where you're feeling a little tired. You've been chasing, you're maybe not getting results yet. It's coming, and it's just that like
Yeah.
grind. And like you mentioned earlier, the weather doesn't really help this time of year. So I
No.
don't think you're alone in feeling burnt out, but it's
Oh,
definitely
literally.
a hard thing to work through.
Yeah, every student I talk to right now, they're like, I'm just tired. It's like we've got this. Couple more weeks.
Well, and see, maybe this podcast will be helpful too in leveraging the people in your network to help with that burnout or help get
Yeah,
through those moments when you're trying to, work on something or finish a project and maybe you need some extra resources. So good timing
true.
with that as well.
Truly. Too true. All right, so let's get back to it. So obviously networking is everything. Connections are everything.
Mhm.
Um, why? Why is it everything? Well, because opportunities come from people. You can find jobs, collaborations, mentorships. It's all about who you know. My mom always said that growing up. I don't know if
Truly.
some people like it, some people don't, but it's like it's not what you know, it's who you know. Of course,
Oh,
both are important, but it is helpful to know people and have good connections, and it helps.
I think it's all about who you know, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, especially in business, but just in life too. I feel like, yeah, our world is built around relationships and connections with people, and the more you can use those to your advantage, the better people seem to do.
Yeah.
And it's about building genuine connections too.
Mm-hmm. I like
Um,
that. You
yeah, because
know?
like you said, like people do business with people they like. And,
Yeah,
being skilled is great, but the relationships are really what drive the opportunities.
it's true.
So I think the earlier on that you can see that, like, yes, skill set is important and you should continue to dial in because once you've established that connection and built that relationship, then you need to have something to back it up.
Yeah.
You can't just
Yep.
talk fluff the whole way through. But I think having those relationships is what opens doors,
Yeah,
or pulls up a chair at a boardroom for you to sit in at.
absolutely. Because you
Hmm.
never know who knows who, right? Like
Exactly.
you're talking with one person about one thing you're struggling with, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I know someone who can totally help you with this." And yeah, that can just take you to that next level, help you out, help your mental health in that situation. Like you said, if you're struggling, if you need, that extra little push, a little bit of advice from somebody who's been there or who has experience, it's like, okay, someone in your network might be able to help you.
Definitely. I think sometimes we look at networking like the wrong way. Like we constantly just thinking like, oh my God, I need to network and it feels
Yeah.
stressful and it feels unauthentic. And you're just like, and then it's like, but why are you
Yeah.
networking? It's like, well, I want to get a job, so I'm trying to meet people in this industry. Okay, well,
Great. Like just do it.
show up
Meet
as
them.
you
Hmm.
and see which
Yeah.
relationships stick from that. Yeah, exactly that.
I like that. That's important, I think. Because you do, like, sometimes you see things as like, oh, I just have to do this. It's like, okay, what's like the intent behind it, and look at it from a more almost like simple perspective. It's like it's not some big scary thing. It's like
Mhm.
you're just here to have like a conversation, and might be a good one, might not be. Yeah. What would
Exactly.
you say is one unexpected opportunity you've gotten from networking?
For me, I actually had a big one, that kind of launched a switch in careers for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one that was very unexpected. So I had been working the last 7 years, for a small business, kind of started in the retail space and then slowly started basically managing their operations, working alongside the owners. And I just kind of felt like I had given everything I could to that opportunity. I was looking for new ways to grow professionally and personally.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided to take a step away. And when I took that step away, I didn't really know what I wanted to do next. I wanted to, show up honest and loyal. And so I finished out my job there. And then afterwards, I started reaching out to people within my network, kind of getting ideas of what I could do. I had some thoughts. And I ended up reaching out to this one gentleman, from a business group that I had been a part of for a long time. And I kind of told him a couple ideas I had. And he listened to me and he was like, Shayla, those are great ideas, but have you ever thought about this?
Mm-hmm.
And he was the one who kind of highlighted some of my experience that I had managing operations. And he
Mm-hmm.
said, how could you leverage this and scale it and apply it to a whole bunch of different businesses and different industries?
Yeah.
And so from that, I started my own business. And him and I are also working collaboratively together on another business.
Love.
So, yeah, that was just one opportunity. And, like I said, he had been part of my network for the last, I don't know, 2 to 3 years. And
Mm-hmm.
sure, we grab coffee every now and again, but we never discussed the opportunity of, starting a business or me having my own. So, you never know what could happen from those interactions. So for me, it's been huge. And I've seen the power of what networking and maintaining relationships can do.
Yeah, I think I've personally thought about this a lot because when you're like a kid and you're a teenager and you're trying to figure out like, okay, what do I want to do in school? What do I want to be when I grow up? You really like I feel like me personally, at least, and I think it's common with like friends and other people I've observed, like you kind of look to like who's around you
Mhm.
in your like network as like a young person, like your friends, your family. It's like, what do their
Mhm.
parents do? What do my parents do? What does my family do? Like that's kind of like sometimes the possibilities. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, my mom's a social worker. Like maybe I'll go into social work.
How many
Um,
kids in your class want to be a police officer or teacher? Like,
Yeah, like it's like what you know, right? Like what you
Mhm.
know is kind of what you go for.
Mhm.
And then when you get into school, again, like a lot of people I'll talk to are like, I just don't really know, like, now that I'm in school and I see all these possibilities, it's like I don't know where I want to go, what path I want to go down. And I think exactly like your example. It's like once you start meeting different people, you can ask them about their experience. They can give you perspective and really just like open you up to all the different possibilities of like what's out there because there's so much
Mhm.
opportunity and niche little things that it's like, oh my gosh, you would never have thought of as like an 18-year-old entering school or even, someone who's just never been in a specific industry. So I think that's a very good point. I think for me, what I like at this point about networking is just like working on like speaking with people and
Mhm.
like I'm really trying to, work on thoughtful answers and
Mhm.
complete answers and basically working on like confidence and speaking clearly and kind of getting my message out there. And so I feel
Mhm.
like that's every time I meet new people and have to give that little elevator pitch about myself, it's like it's a really good opportunity I feel for just practicing that because I don't think that's ever going to go away. So, yeah.
Certainly. And like you
Mhm.
said, the more you practice it, the more when you step into those bigger moments or in front of
Mhm.
someone that you're really trying to connect with, you already have all that experience. You're going to feel so much more confident stepping into that
Absolutely.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so some tips, I guess, like how you can grow your network authentically, is, start with who you already know. Like you mentioned, like friends, coworkers, former
Mhm.
colleagues, even social media connections.
Mhm.
Start with people that you feel comfortable with, that you can, get to know a little bit more, maybe even test out those elevator pitches, like you mentioned.
Mhm.
And really just, get comfortable being uncomfortable in a safe space.
Yeah, absolutely. Be curious and add value. This is always important. You
Hmm.
always have to add value for people. Unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. So yeah, don't just ask for things. Of course, that's part of it. You can, but you need to bring in value to the relationship, share your insights, help them out with what they might need. So yeah, two-way street, I would say.
I
Pretty,
think that was the
pretty
biggest
fair.
shift for me in networking was
Hmm.
remembering that it's about building relationships. And would you
Yeah.
walk up to someone on the street and just be like, "Buy my magazine?" No.
Yeah. No, that's insane.
So
Hi,
why
please.
why why at networking events do we feel like we can just, like scream
Yeah.
at someone about our business and feel like
Yeah.
that's going to get us business, right? Like if we remember
Mm-hmm.
that it's truly just about building relationships and seeing what comes from it,
Yeah.
we need to start by, like you said, how can we add value? How can we
Mm-hmm.
show this person that we're someone to trust? They don't know us. How
Yeah,
can we ask them questions and get to know them? Like, are they even someone we want in our network, right?
absolutely.
So yeah, I like
Absolutely.
that. Be curious and find ways that you can add value to the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then of
Yeah.
course too, like, leveraging social media platforms and
Mm-hmm.
um using those like LinkedIn, Instagram, nowadays TikTok.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
there's a lot of good stuff out there.
definitely.
And finally, go where your people are. Networking events, industry conferences, local meetups, online communities.
Hmm.
This is huge. I was just talking to a friend this weekend who just went to an industry conference for
Mm.
dental. She's a dental hygienist and
Hmm.
just heard some unreal lectures and met some people that she could never dream of meeting and just loved meeting them and hearing what they had to say. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah, I think you can learn a lot from these kind of events. You can meet a lot of really cool people with cool insight, cool stories, and so, yeah, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to jump in.
definitely. I think too, like, one experience that kind of stood out to me when I was starting, we'll say starting to network and
Yeah,
having to,
starting to network seriously,
exactly.
getting down to business.
Was having a goal
Mm,
for the events I was going to. So one in particular, I remember I I'd been attending these like local city ones, and they're always fun social mixers, and there's good food and drinks, and it was fun to see people I knew and meet some new people, but I didn't really have a purpose for it. And I remember um, meeting this one gentleman, and he asked me specifically, he's like, "What are you looking to gain from tonight?" And I was like, oh, that's a really great question. And I kind of was just like blanket statement, like, oh, I'm just looking to meet new people, grow my network, and see what happens. And he was like, well, what's one thing that you are working on right now that you could use help with? And at the
yeah.
time, I was planning a golf tournament. And I was like, well, you know what? I really need sponsors for this golf tournament I'm organizing. And he's like, perfect. He's like, I'll find you someone to join tonight.
Aw.
And I was like, what? Really? And he's like, well, how are people supposed to know what you need if you don't share with them? And how are you
Yeah.
supposed to leverage this opportunity if you're not sure what the goal is? And I
Yeah.
just thought, like, wow, it's true. Like, I go about so many other things having a goal in mind, but going to networking events, I just thought, oh, it's social, it's fun, like, never know what's going to happen.
We're
But
just here to chat. Yeah.
yeah. And like that's a huge part of it too. Like don't get me wrong. I think it's fun to have a social night out, but having one or two goals in the back of your mind, it just
Yeah.
really opens you up. And when you hear certain things or hear someone talk about something, I find it's just added a huge amount of value to my experiences.
I think that's a huge tip. That's so cute. I love that story. Yeah, I'm in a sales class right now, so I feel like a
Hmm.
lot of this is like taking me back to like my core pitch that I'm like studying right now. And it's like, yeah, it's like even when you're going in to sell something or like in
Hmm.
this case networking, you're kind of selling yourself. It's like
Definitely.
exactly, don't go in and just be like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go have a chat." Like it's like that's not actually that helpful. Like you need to
Yeah.
have at least some kind of direction for it all.
Yeah.
So I think exactly like I feel the same way. It's like you wouldn't maybe think to do that like on
Hmm.
first nature, but um, definitely I think that that's a good thing to have in mind when you're even if it's just like, oh, it's just a little conversation. It's like have a little bit of a goal and a little bit of direction because that'll
Yeah,
go
because
a
I
long way.
I think people too like genuinely want to connect with people and they want to
Hmm.
help people. And like I think about it from my side too. Like if I was at a networking event and I just met someone and we're chit-chatting and and then and we start talking more and the person I'm talking with goes, "You know what? I'm actually really looking to grow this side of my business. Do you happen to know anyone in this industry?"
Hmm.
I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, yes. Like thanks for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Like I can
Hmm.
connect you with three people that come to mind. That's no problem. I love." So I think too, the more you get comfortable with asking and being direct about that, I think that is going to add huge value as well.
Yeah,
Because people want to help. They really do, and they want to
true.
connect people. So,
That's
yeah,
the
being
thing. If
specific.
you're there, you're there with like-minded people too, right? Like
Hmm.
usually people are there for a reason, for sure. I would
Definitely.
say my best tip, I'm gonna throw in a
Hmm.
tip. Mine's a little
Yeah,
more like silly fun.
love it.
So you got to have your little drinky at your networking event to kind of
Hmm.
like loosen up if
Yes.
you're a bubbly girly. Um, but yeah, that's I mean, again, it like seems like an obvious one, but that's something somebody said once. They're like, "Yep, like there's drinks at these events and that's great and it's all about having fun and like, being semi like kind of loose-ish and like confident and ready to talk." But they're like, "Don't be like sloppy like that's."
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, that feels like obvious, but it's like it is a good tip because sometimes I think when you go to events and you're
Yeah.
new to these kind of events and there's like all of a sudden there's like alcohol, like it's like I think you're in, you might be nervous, you're just like, oh cool,
Hmm.
I'll just like crush a few beers. It's like maybe not. Maybe not. You
I've
need to nurse that glass of wine.
I was
Like,
gonna say, I know for me personally, like if I go to a networking group and I'm choosing to have a drink, I
yeah.
limit myself to one
Yeah.
because I already definitely like am naturally very introverted. And yeah, like you
Hmm.
said, like one glass of bubbly is great, helps me like
Cute.
calms the nerves. Um, but after one, things start to get a little questionable. It can be a
That's how
slippery
I feel.
slope.
That's how I feel. I'm like I'm just like too much of a lightweight anyways that it's like
Yeah.
two drinks beyond like I'm getting a little silly. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that's a good that's a good call.
Post networking event, make plans with your girlfriends, go for drinks
That's fun.
after, debrief, enjoy, let loose. But
I like
at
that.
the networking event, no.
Lock in.
I also will say, I will add to that that there is food at these events, but it's always
Mm,
so awkward to eat. And I find
yeah.
it very uncomfortable that that's the other thing you have to keep in mind is that you're not eating. You probably went straight from work. So, like,
Mm,
that one glass of bubbly is going to hit you a lot harder than it would if you were grabbing dinner. So,
that is good to know.
keep that in mind too. I love that.
Crush a granola bar on the way over.
Yeah. Tuck something in your purse just in
Yeah,
case.
just a little snack. Oh my goodness, I love. Okay, well, let's talk about making connections that actually last
Yeah.
because I think we've touched on this before. It's like you're meeting all these people, and it's like
Hmm.
sometimes it's a good conversation, sometimes it's like, oh, okay, all right, walking away, and I'll never speak to them again. So, our little tips for that are if you like that person, you thought that they could bring value to your life, follow up, stay in touch. A
Hmm.
simple check-in or share an article that you think is interesting, maybe connect with them on LinkedIn, schedule a coffee if you want to maybe talk more, meet more. So,
Hmm.
I think that's important. A good one.
Definitely. Like you put it, think about it, you put in all this work and energy to go to
Mm-hmm.
the event, to make that connection at the event, and then all to let it just fall to the
Like
wayside.
fizzle.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's like a date. You need to like follow
it
up,
is.
okay?
Yeah.
We've talked about this before.
Very
I won't get on
important.
my soapbox, but
Yes. And
oh
just
my
like
goodness.
dating, don't leave them on red. When you do reach
No.
out, make sure that you continue to
Yeah.
engage in conversation
Don't be
and
insane. Be a
like
polite human being.
And I think too, like going back to those connections that last, right? Like we're building relationships, not to sound like a
Mm-hmm.
broken record, but be
It's true.
authentic in how you follow up with that person. If you talked about their ski trip at Big White, you can make mention of that. Or if,
Mm.
they mentioned a favorite hobby that you guys shared, that's a great, easy connect. And then from that, remembering that maybe you're excited about this connection because you think it could provide a great business opportunity or you see a sales potential in it. Remember you just met this person. So
Yeah.
think long game here. Remember the relationship. you're not going to propose to someone on the first or second date. Why should you slam a
True.
sales pitch at them the second time you've interacted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially sales, it's all about trust, and you're exactly right.
Mhm.
It's like nobody feels trusted or valued if you're just like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this great opportunity." It's like that is not that's not going to do it for anyone. So you're
No.
so right. It's like just like exactly, be cool, form a relationship. Like that is
Mhm.
the most important. I love.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's go through our bubbly breakdown.
Love.
Networking is equals opportunity. So the bigger your
Ooh.
network, the more doors open.
Love. Be authentic. No one likes forced transactional relationships, as I just mentioned.
Go where the people are, find events, groups, online spaces that fit your goals and are the people you want to be meeting.
Love. And nurture those relationships. Stay in touch, add value for them. And yeah, just keep building that relationship before you work together because then you're just going to have a more amazing working relationship from there.
Definitely. So
Love.
networking isn't about collecting business cards or seeing how many LinkedIn connections you can make in one night. It's about building real, authentic, genuine relationships. So whether
Yeah,
you're just starting or looking to expand your circle, focus on those genuine connections, consistency, and how you can add value to others.
love. If you love this episode as much as we did, and you're planning on maybe getting your network is your net worth tattoo like I am, don't forget to subscribe. Send us a photo of that tattoo. Leave a review. Share this episode with a friend. But yeah, until next time, blazers on, bubbly in hand, and let's get connected, okay? Cheers.
Cheers.